Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Thursday, June 20th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 195 is Torchlight II. Torchlight II is an action role-playing game made by Runic Games, and while it lacks some of the polish of the much larger budget Diablos in the world, it does a damn good job of standing on its own two legs to create a unique experience that I think any fan of the genre should check out. There are 4 playable classes in Torchlight II. There's Ember Mage, which is more or less a classical wizard or sorcerer with some small twists. Then Engineer, which can make robot minions to do their bidding. Third is Outlander, which is a bit of a jack-of-all-trades hybrid between melee and range, and can even do some light magic. Outlanders also have a lot of status effects they can apply to enemies. Lastly, there's Berserker, which is exactly what the name implies. You get in your enemy's face and punch it until there isn't a face there anymore. Much of this video is showcasing my highest level character, my Engineer, but I'll also have some stuff with the newer Ember Mage as well. Each class plays very differently, and not just in the obvious ways you might assume. While there are wildly different skill trees for each class, there's a tertiary resource integral to the gameplay that behaves totally differently for each class, called Charge. Each class builds up a meter by participating in combat, and some abilities fill it faster than others. For Ember Mage, when the meter fills, all of their spells become free and do extra damage for a while. Some spells have bonus effects that only happen while in this state too. For Engineer, their bar fills in segments, and several abilities have bonus effects based on these segments. Some might spend a specific amount of segments, while others could spend it all and have the bonus scale based on how many there are. It can wildly change how you play the class. Outlanders have an ebb and flow to various stat bonuses based on their charge meter, and when it's empty, there's bonuses on the first attack you make. Lastly, for Berserker, you can fill the bar more quickly, and then once it's full, the next time you crit, you go on a frenzy, guaranteeing all of your hits will crit for a short time, and there's some other benefits too. On top of the skill trees and charge meters, there's also unique weapons. Most weapons can be used by every class, but there are some that are class specific, and each class has weapon types they specialize in more than the others. Speaking of weapons, gear in this game is pretty interesting. To meet the requirements for your gear, you need to either be high enough character level or meet minimum stat requirements. This means you can sometimes equip really powerful gear at a lower level if you've dumped points into the right stats. Every time you level up, you have 5 points to dump into stats and 1 skill point to spend anywhere on your skill tree. Each class has 3 branches on their tree, consisting of several activated abilities or spells, and a few passives. Many are gated based on level, not only initially, but as you keep sinking points into them as well. The main reason for this is that as you put enough points into different skills, you'll unlock tier bonuses that give it some additional benefit beyond just better numbers. Leveling up your character isn't the only way to get skill points, by the way. When you kill rare enemies or bosses, you gain an amount of fame, which is like a secondary level for your character. Gain enough fame and you'll gain another skill point to spend. There are 32 fame levels, so it's a cool way to keep upgrading your character as the game drags on. On top of all that, there's a few other ways to customize your character's playstyle. Simplest first, many items you equip can have gem slots, and you'll find gems throughout your travels. Insert them into the sockets, and you'll get stat bonuses based both on the type of the gem and the equipment type. Most gems are just number boosts, but there's also a variety of special gems that give a wide array of more unique bonuses you can try out. Second, you can equip a number of spells from scrolls to your character. Each character can only have a handful of spells learned at a time, and you consume these scroll items to learn them, but they can go far in plugging the gaps in your character's toolkit, especially if you're playing predominantly solo. I say solo with an asterisk, that is. When you make your character, you also choose a companion pet. They are your ride or die and will be with you forever. If you're not sure your golden retriever is actually a great combatant, don't worry, that's what fish are for and how you can truly customize your pet. You'll probably spend a lot of time fishing in this game. If you're in any town, you'll find a fishing hole there and you can just fish endlessly. Click on the hole, then click again on the icon when the ring reaches the center. You can find, of course, fish, but also gear, potions, and other items while fishing. A lot of it is pretty much trash to sell, but hey, it's income. Each of the fish you catch and some other foods can be fed to your pet in order to transform them into other animals with different bonuses. They could be a spider that webs enemies and flows them, or a skeleton that shreds armor, or just all sorts of things. You'll want a lot of these fish though. Most of them only last for 5 minutes at a time. On rare occasion, you can get bigger ones that last for 15 minutes, or if you're really lucky, enormous ones that last indefinitely or until you use something else or close the game. So you'll still want a stock even after you get those. Of course, towns aren't the only places fish exist. While in your travels throughout the world, you'll find fishing holes out there too, and those usually have better odds at finding something good. If you really look for them, you'll find secret fishing holes as well, and those are great to find some cool gear and enormous fish. Any of the spots outside of towns, though, only have a limited number of cast attempts, so make sure you're paying attention. Of course, there's more to animal companions than fighting. They'll also run errands for you. You can load up your pet's inventory with stuff for you to sell and give it a shopping list. It'll run back to town, then come back with your money and everything else you need, allowing you to keep adventuring. So, what is the adventure? I've beaten this game twice, and I can't tell you. The plot is so absolutely forgettable, I don't know. You go beat up a bad guy that's terrorizing people? That's about all I got. But the journey to get there is pretty fun. There's lots of dungeons with random procedurally generated elements, making each playthrough feel a bit different. But once you beat the game, you can start a New Game Plus. One of the big features of New Game Plus is the map works, which might as well be the only place you ever go again. You can buy maps from a vendor there with tons of variety in environments, enemy types, difficulty, and bonuses both against and for you. Then load them into the mapworks and it'll generate an entire dungeon for you. If you've played any of the more recent Diablo games, this is similar to Rifts. I ranked Diablo Immortal as my 277th favorite game, and most of that game consists of running rifts. It's a good time. Even though Diablo Immortal is 6 years newer than Torchlight II, I think Torchlight does it better. Being able to be so selective about the environment and everything else of the map is awesome. And I think the bosses at the end of the dungeons are a bit more interesting. In fact, there's a lot of similarities between Torchlight 2 and Diablo Immortal. They both have fun, compelling gameplay loops. They both have absolutely nothing burger stories. They both have, in my experience, broken multiplayer functions, though Torchlight is great for multiplayer if you can get going with someone consistently. So why is Torchlight almost 100 spots higher on the list? The biggest difference isn't the microtransactions, it's not the power scaling, or any other common complaints about Diablo Immortal. It comes down to the most important thing in an action RPG. Game feel. Torchlight 2's weapons all feel radically different from one another, and they feel great. Cannons are slow but powerful, and I love that you even get some self-knockback from them. Swords swing in an arc for splash damage. Every weapon behaves differently, not only in the math behind them, for people wanting to do that number crunch and fine-tuning, but also in how they feel and interact with your environment. It's fantastic. There's so much more I could talk about with Torchlight 2, like secret rooms and legendary gear and shrines. There's just so much stuff in this game. I could record for hundreds of hours and still not be able to show you all of it. So check it out for yourself. As I mentioned at the top of the video, it's worth doing. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 194th favorite game, where I need to double check if my NDA has been lifted. So, that could be interesting.